One of the things I wanted to do when I did this from the gun video playbook was break down some schemes. Now, normally I don't show you guys schemes. Usually I just let you guys make up your own schemes based off of some of the plays that I show. But I'm going to go ahead and start doing this in the from the gun video playbook. And the very first scheme I want to show is out of the doubles on, out of the gun, out of the Buccaneers playbook. And this one, for you guys who aren't familiar with the Buccaneers playbook, you guys know there's a halfback direct play in there. Now, this makes this pretty effective because of that one play. But there's also another play in there I like. And then you throw it in with a combination of a couple other, as far as pass route combination or passing concepts you can throw in, it's pretty effective. So let's go ahead, and first thing we want to do is go ahead and go in our audibles, because if you use your default formation audibles or formation audibles in the game, not formation shifts, but formation audibles, there are no, these two plays that I'm about to show, they're not in there. The 4 plays that you have that are in your formation audibles, if you press up, would be curl flats. If you press right, I believe it's corner threat. If you press down, it's halfback sweep. And then the 4th one, if you press left, it's play action QB choice. So the 4 plays I'm going to show aren't in there. But if you want to go ahead and put these 2 plays in there I'm about to add, actually we'll add 3, because there's a 3rd one that you can add if you want to add it just to be able to beat zone coverage. So for now, let's go ahead and do this. Let's add the A to our A button. We're going to go in here into the gun, and the one we're going to look for is the halfback direct. I mean, if you're not using the halfback direct, if you're using this playbook, then you're crazy, because this is probably one of the best running plays in the game as far as keeping your opponent off, off balance. Let's see if we can find it here. And there it is, halfback direct snap right here. That's the one we're going to have as our A. Now, another one you want to add here, you can add it to your Y. Let's go back in here again. Is the flanker screen, which again I think is one of the more effective plays in this game that you can run out of. I'll tell you what, there's some really nice plays in this particular playbook. Now, I wish I had one of the gun bunch, like the gun bunch week or the gun bunch tied in, because if they had that, I would definitely probably run this playbook a little bit more and would I mess with it, but it's still pretty nice. So we got the flanker screen there. Now, the 3rd one we're going to add, and this is totally up to you. You don't have to add this if you don't want to, but it's a play called flanker middle, and there's a reason I like this play, and I'll show it to you in a second. If you're not familiar with this play, we'll go ahead and look at it. See if we can find it there. There it is, flanker middle. What we want to do is go ahead and add that one. So now, there's what we got. We got flanker screen as our Y. We got A, which is our halfback direct snap, and we got flanker middle. I'm not going to do these other ones as far as any kind of, as far as messing with them. But these are the 3. Now, you don't have to have that flanker middle if you don't want to, but definitely have flanker screen and halfback direct snap. All right, let's go ahead and hop in here. Also, one last thing before I get in there, I did want to point out something. With this Buccaneer team, because they don't have tall receivers that are starting, they do have tall receivers that are on the bench. They're like 3 and 4. They've got Stovall, who's 6'5", and then they got Clayton, who's 6'4". So they got 2 receivers. Neither of these guys are burners, but they're certainly, if you know how to rocket catch, they're going to add something to your offense as far as rocket catching. So with this team, if I was to run them, I'd actually have these 2 guys probably as my starters. And Galloway, I'd have him as my number 3, which is my slot. And then Bryant, who's decent at 6'1", at 92 speed, I'd have him as my number 4 receiver. The other thing I want to point out, it's up to you here. I went ahead and put Carnell Williams at my halfback as my starter, but they got work done as well. But I went ahead and used Carnell Williams just because he's a little bit better at breaking tackles. Now, they got other good receivers, running backs too, as well as Bennett and then Ernest Graham. So this team's actually loaded. It's not a bad team to use, so that's why what I've been trying to do when I've been doing these breakdowns is use the teams of the team playbook. So that's what I'm doing here. So let's just say, for instance, one of the plays you could come out in, if you just want to come out in any play, for instance, one thing you could do, say you didn't set this flanker middle as your audible. You could always come out in this play if you wanted to, because remember, you got all those other audibles set up. Let's just run this against like a dollar, I'm going to use dollar cover 3 just for this example. Again, a lot of times, one other thing I want to point out, and I'll point this out in another video playbook that I did, a lot of times when I do these breakdowns, I don't show blitzes and stuff, because for the most part, if they're going to blitz you, it just leaves that much more open, because there's less guys to defend. As far as dropping back in coverage, as long as you can read the coverage, you can beat the blitzes in this game. So especially if you're in the gun. Now, if you're under center, that's a little bit different. But in my opinion, if you're in the gun, you can blitz me all you want, but for the most part, I'm going to get the ball off before you get to the blitz. So, so I know some people say, well, Cobra doesn't show blitzes in this stuff. Well, the reason I don't show blitzes is because, to me, it doesn't really show you how effective these plays are against like all coverage and coverage schemes, because the more guys are dropping back in coverage, the more difficult it is to complete these passes. If you're going to be blitzing me, there's less guys to defend, and yeah, I may have a less second or 2 to do it, but the way these offensive line is blocking this year, and some of the other things you can do with slide protection, you should be able to have enough time even to get some of the best blitzes if you're in the gun. That's why I like being in the gun versus under center, because I just don't think there's a lot of great nanos. You can say all you want as far as nanos in this game coming under center, they're there, but from the shotgun, there's not a whole lot of them there. There's some ones that get in pretty quick, but if you're a decent player on offense, you're going to beat most blitzes in this game. So let's just go ahead and we'll just start out with this flanker middle play. Now remember we had this set as an audible. One of the things you can do with this particular play is, and I pointed this out many times, is I'm not going to do any kind of motion with this. We're going to keep this, all these scheme I'm showing is no motion at all. And for the most part, you can quick snap it. For the most part, the only thing I would suggest is as soon as you come out of huddles, maybe smart route and that outside receiver who's running that square in route, or actually a dig route to the inside, I may go ahead and smart route him. And then all you want to do is, if they're playing zone, just wait for that tight end to go out and then throw that. So you pick up 3 or 4 yards. And it's a real simple play, but it doesn't matter. Now you can hurry up and come back in there, and you could go ahead and audible into that halfback direct and run that halfback direct play. And you just go right up the gut, and there we pick up a couple yards. Usually that's good for more than that. It depends on the defense you're playing against, but a lot of times you can just you can pick up a lot of yards with this. Let's go and run it one more time. Let's go back to the inside and run it. You can see how effective that is. I mean, that's a really nice run play. And then you hurry up, and let's say you're running a no huddle offense, then you could just bust them in with this one, the screen play. And this screen play is real effective because not only do you have this outside screen route, but if you watch, a lot of times you may find this guy wide open who's running that, which is Galloway in this case, who's running that out route. You might find him open over in the flat, especially if they run like a cover 4 or some type of defense there. If they run cover 2, you can always just hit that post route over the deep middle. I know I played an opponent who was running this flanker screen. He wasn't just throwing it to that screen route. He was hitting me with these other routes over here too as well, making it pretty darn effective combination. But as is, you don't have to do a whole lot with this. Again, you just hurry up and run up to the huddle and snap it and throw it and just run your screen and follow your blocks. That's 5 or 6 yards. Then again, once you got those 3 plays all ran, then you can mix it in with some of the other stuff that you got. Now, for instance, out here on this outside, I'm not going to run this, but say you had a tall receiver in the slot. You could hot route this outside receiver, and you get yourself a wheel streak combination. You could go ahead and rocket catch with Galloway. If he was a taller receiver, you could do the rocket with him. You also got your formation audibles, and we all know how difficult the rocket curl is this year. Well, there you go. You got the flat right here. This is the flat curl combination. Now, a lot of times when I run this particular play, I like to have my 2 tall receivers, like for instance with the Jaguars, I'll put like a Stonda, which is my tight end 2. I'll put him in the slot, and then I'll have, which the other guy is Smith, I believe it is. I'll have him lined up out there on the outside, or is it Lewis? Sorry, Lewis. I'll have him lined up at the tight end position, and I'll hot route him on a curl. So I have 4 receivers running curls, plus I got my halfback running delayed curl route. So now I've got all these guys running curl routes, and I can still do the rocket with them. So I've got this particular play that I'll throw in. So that's 4 plays that I've already got. Now the other thing is, depending on where the ball's lined up at, I can always run my streak fade combination that I like to run when I do that rocket fade that I run. So I got all these plays I can run from all this. So I still got the curl on this side, curl flat concept. I still got Williams coming out. Now I've got that over there. And then I've got my other audibles if I want to go back into the halfback direct, if I want to go into the halfback screen, if I want to go into the flanker, the flanker middle. I have all these plays all set up that are pretty effective scheme just out of this. There's 6 plays you can run that you can pretty much, or 6 different types of passing concepts, plus that one run play I showed. Plus, you always got this other one, too. You got the halfback sweep you can add in there if you want to do a regular run play out of here. So there's some different things you can do with here. And that's not to mention, you also got the play action QB choice, which can be a nice play depending on what the pass coverage is. If you guys already know that. If you didn't know that already, this is actually a nice little play that you can throw in. So you got the play action QB choice. You can always hand off to the halfback, or you can throw it. And you got that deep post route ran over here on the right. So there's some things there. And one last play that you got in your audibles I mentioned out earlier. Now, I don't know about this one as much. This is called corner threat. There's some things you could do with it. And like I said, where I talked about wide receiver corner, where I throw that corner route by rolling my quarterback out to the left, that's something else I could do. Another thing you could do from this particular formation is hot route these 2 receivers on streaks, and then slide protect to the right, and then just have Smith or whatever, maybe run a drag or something like that, and then do that where I showed where you roll out to the quarterback to this side, where you roll the quarterback out over here, and then you look for this receiver here against cover 2 or cover 3 by throwing it to the inside to the heart. So when you make this throw, you want to throw it to 3 o'clock position. So there's several different things you can do out of this particular scheme without even having to do any kind of motion. You may have to do some hot routing, but even, like I said, a lot of times I think guys forget as soon as you come out of the huddle, you can start doing your hot routes. And if you're really quick with your hot routes, you can go ahead and run this pretty darn quick as far as the snap. I mean, it may take a couple seconds after the ball is lined up, or when, once the team's lined up, then you can snap it. But for the most part, this scheme right here is a real simple scheme, yet pretty effective. So again, if you guys are running the Buccaneers playbook and you're running it out of the gun doubles on and you like this particular formation, you're going to find a lot of nice plays out of here that you can scheme with. And this doesn't require a whole lot of motion, doesn't require a whole lot of anything except just throwing the ball quickly and throwing the open receiver or running the ball, depending on what you decide to do. So one last thing I do want to point out here is, don't forget, you always have the ability to go ahead and go into the sawed-off shotgun, which I mentioned earlier. So you can always run it if you want to do that. You can mix that in there too. So there's some different things you can do with this particular scheme. Again, this is the gun doubles on out of the Buccaneers playbook. And before I actually leave here, I want to point out one other thing. If you go into, there's another formation in here too. If you go into that gun spread, you should be able to get a scheme out here along with this halfback direct. The downside here is there's no actual screen play that you can run from this outside the halfback screen. Now, you could do that thing where you take control of the receiver before the snap, and you actually take control of them. And what you want to do is leave the halfback in, and maybe leave the send those, some of the other receivers out on pass routes, whatever. But you want to take control of the outside receiver on the right and run that screen by taking control of them and then run them backwards. I think it's not always successful, but that's something you could look at doing. But you still have some of the other routes, and you got the curl flat, that you could throw in there. You could throw in this post corner play. You got the smash corners. So there's some things you could run out of this scheme too, out of the gun spread, based off of that halfback direct play. But again, I prefer to run it out of the doubles on because of that wide receiver screen that you already have built into play. So there's some different things like the flanker screen, which I mean right here. That's why I like this formation a little bit better, and I like that spread formation because of that flanker screen. Because in combination with the halfback direct and the ability to do the rocket curl, the rocket fade, and some of the other simple routes such as that, that when I show the inside middle, flanker middle with the tight end running that delayed route, is a pretty effective combination. So again, if you guys are running the Buccaneers playbook, this is a scheme that if you're not already running one, you may want to try it out and start trying to run.